thank you everyone for joining us. This is another UK Film Review interview. I'm really happy to say that today I'm joined by Eve Leonard-Walsh. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, Eve.
Thank you for having me.
So you recently wrote, directed, produced, edited, and starred in an incredibly good feature-length drama um, called Because We Are Too Many, which is now on Amazon Prime. And this is a film which everyone at UK Film Review seems to absolutely love, including me.
Oh,
Just before we start, would it be all right if you just introduce the listeners slash viewers to what this film is about and what it means to you, in sort of general terms?
just to put the narrative simply, is basically about a single parent with a child with autism. It's set during lockdown. It was filmed during lockdown as well, which was insane. And it's basically was made to draw attention to the situation for carers. That's essentially the motivation behind it. I was also processing myself his diagnosis, I think, with
Mm,
hindsight when I think about it. And I think if I'd really thought it through, I probably wouldn't have made it because it was so intense. But I
mm,
think I was processing the diagnosis for him and dealing with so my son had a lot of challenging behavior, self-harm, a lot of tantrums, and I think for me, sort of struggling under that, it was cathartic for me to be able to make a film that was honest about what that process can be like, and also those years from sort of between 2 and about 7 was because of the um, self-harming, tantrums, not sleeping. So my son didn't really sleep through the night till he was about 7. So I look exhausted in the film, as you can probably
yeah.
see. I just saw one of your shots from the film, and my eyes look awful. My eye bags are like this. I'm like, oh. So, but at the time, I suppose I didn't really think about it much. I just kind of did it.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really glad that I did. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that I did.
Yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes like making a film can be really good for processing different things, can't it? And you can absolutely feel the honesty from the film. I mean, it's so beautifully done and incredibly moving. I think everyone has found it very, very moving. And you touch on a lot of important subjects, not even like just about parenting and but also about the more the general experience of lockdown and also you know memory and how that feeds into the present and past trauma, of course. And so maybe the first thing to discuss is some of the sort of unique methods of storytelling you implement, and this so it's a film comprised of like different time periods, of course, in one person's life, and even like the first words spoken in the film, of course, relates to this idea that time is a construct, and I think that's a really uniquely like fluid perspective, of not just the character but of the form of the film as well and the way that you've constructed this film. I was wondering, was it always your intention to divide the story into these different time zones like you so elegantly do, or was it just something that sort of happened during the writing process, felt natural for what you were trying to get across to the audience?
No, it's quite close to the script. There's things that are different from the script that obviously because we had no budget, I had to leave out. But it was essentially written non-linear,
Yeah.
um, to basically represent how our past affects our lives, past trauma and also generational trauma, and how that was constantly repeating and constantly being brought up because I think for a lot of mums, um, having children brings up things
Mm.
from your past that otherwise you hadn't really thought about. So, motherhood can bring up a lot of stuff for fathers as well. A lot of stuff can come up that otherwise we don't really think about in our daily sort of lives.
Yeah.
So I did want to show that, but also her interest in time.
Had a few technical difficulties there. If you can hear that there's been a disconnect, but that's absolutely fine. We were talking about, well, time. I was talking about the whole, so many different ways you approach time in the film, and then we touched on, generational trauma. And I mean, I love how as the film progresses, you actually start to allow these different worlds in the protagonist's mind to sort of merge and interact and like gain more and more emotional relevance for what the past means in the present. I mean, just to skip ahead a bit, I'm thinking of like the sort of ethereal dream sequence in the field where suddenly, these different parts of her psyche are sort of coming together. And I was wondering, could you talk a little bit about some of the techniques you use to achieve this effect, achieve these effects, like, through editing is very interesting. So anything like that, how did you approach that?
Um, I'm not really sure to be honest. I suppose for with editing is kind of an art in itself
Mm.
because when you go through the edit, things start to sort of appear and become almost more relevant when actually they were sort of happens by chance.
Yeah.
The dream sequence, for example, was something that I had in mind for a long time. It's actually based on a Dali, which is quite a famous Glasgow painting
Oh,
uh,
wow.
in Kelvin Grove. So it means quite a lot to a lot of Scottish people because it's kind of our pride and joy. It's very beautiful. It's the Christ
Yeah.
above the cross. So
Yeah.
that sequence was based on that painting.
Oh,
And I base a lot of things is I like to incorporate other artists, so poetry, the graffiti artists. So the graffiti was in Glasgow at that time. So
yeah.
what I'm saying is I kind of integrate other things to get kind of meaning, but also sort of collective conscious because there is a collective conscious where we
Hmm.
all have similar ideas at the same time. And that's
Yeah.
really what artists do. They kind of bring together all these the way that people are feeling, but they're not expressing. And I think I'm just trying to show that in that film.
Yeah.
Collective consciousness and collective experiences as well. So it's also really about how we the whole point of the name of the film is because we are too many. That's a quote from Jude the Obscure. But it also relates to in terms of how we think about each other, in terms of thinking about each other in like boxes,
Yeah.
or thinking about as just demographics. And we're not demographics, we're individuals, and I
Yeah.
don't like that. I think that thinking is quite dangerous. So I'm trying to show that he's not just you know an immigrant. He's a poet. He
Yeah.
has his ideas about things and his own past, his own future. She's not just working class scumbag in a council flat. She's has her own idea about time,
Yeah.
and her own past and future, her own dreams. So dream sequences as well are good to show the inner workings of a person,
Yeah.
and sort of interconnectivity through dreams as well. So he's in her dream, her brother that's passed away is in her dream. So
Yeah.
um yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, you can just sort of feel the richness of what you're talking about. And like, it's such a complex film in that way. And there are so many moving parts to it. And you mentioned about the graffiti and the poetry, and I love the idea that the film is comprised of all these different sort of almost like cultural elements. Um, and I think the graffiti is a really interesting and important thing to focus on. There's something so evocative about, that image that you've used on the poster as well. Are you saying that that was just already there? That was completely there, obviously
Yeah,
in the film as well. Yeah.
yeah, I tracked him down actually,
Did
Monk.
you?
And yeah, and he did the graffiti for me actually. I
Amazing.
probably shouldn't say that actually, it's sort of illegal.
No.
So the artwork is of the mother and child. It's
Yeah.
obviously, you're going to see that motif through art, the
Yeah.
mother and the child. So he did the mother and the child, and Somebody Loves You, and
Yes.
it was all over Glasgow. It's all gone. They've all painted all over it.
Oh no, golly.
But
But
that was,
well, it's brilliant that I mean, I think that's a brilliant way to go about it. There is something really special about, those images, and yeah, that works so well. And it's so exciting that you actually, yeah, got in contact.
yeah, and also graffiti is an interesting art form because it is temporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's there for a day and then it's gone. Banksy says that as well, doesn't he? That it's a temporary, and it's the next day it might be gone, and that is kind of, I love that about it. But I also wanted to kind of capture it because Banksy, you'll always get a photo of a Banksy. So, but I
Yeah,
can see
absolutely.
why. So you have, it's like memory, isn't it? You have this idea of this memory. So by the time we filmed that, it had all been painted over. So I asked him to do it again one more time for
Oh,
me.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that really relates to the whole theme, the themes of the film in that way about, something fleeting, but then coming back, it's not completely gone, but it is in a way, Um, on a, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that you edited this film because even while I was watching it, I could sort of just kind of feel that it felt like a person's sort of singular fit. Obviously, it's a really collaborative film, but the way I could just sort of tell that the person who wrote it also edited it. It had that flow to it and that sense of it's actually quite playful, I think, in the way it's constructive. You're I think you're experimenting with a lot of different things in a really exciting way, in a way that audiences will find exciting, particularly if they're interested in film. And I was wondering, do you use, obviously, you talk about editing being the time where things come together and you start to notice things, but do you also use editing as a method of discovery and experimentation, or do you already have sort of an idea of how everything's going to come together? Like I think of the shot of, I think it's the brother sat on the edge of the bed and it's suddenly very colorful, and that shot is just cut in very briefly in a way that's really impactful to me. And I was wondering, is that shot written in the script, or was that something that you discovered through editing?
That shot. I just put that in the edit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. That wasn't written in the script. Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
think,
pretty cool.
yeah, that's what happens with editing as well. But obviously if the longer you have to edit, the more you can get a flow going. But I also think that it's not actually, there are other filmmakers, quite a lot of editors and filmmakers, I think, maybe not that many, but um so basically shoot some, edit,
Yeah.
shoot more. Okay, so but I think for me that is ideally how I would always work. But
Yeah.
I think for my next project, if it has a budget, I won't be allowed to do that probably.
Yeah.
So I'll have to be a bit more concise.
Yeah.
But I'll still probably be doing the same thing basically in the future, where um using environment as and the environment is, for me, is their inspiration. So I work a scene around the environment.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that makes
Yeah.
sense, which is a bit of an odd take on it, I would say, probably. But our environments are us.
Mm.
So this is the thing as well. I think with a lot of films, you have a character that's just dropped from space, and it just that's not how we work. We're
No.
made by our environment and we're part of it, and communities make who we are. So you show an individual without any community, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense because it's not how we live, and it's not where we come from. So the more you can put your backstory of your community into it, I think the stronger you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that is maybe a wee bit missing in new films. If you think like something like a It's a Wonderful Life. I
Mm.
was watching that, it's so good. The other day, and I realized why it's good, because it's not just about him, it's about the community, and it's he's not the most important person. Each
Yeah.
person is equally valuable, and each person has a story, and each person makes that community and has equal value. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I think that's what makes it so strong. So I'm trying to go with that.
Yeah.
He's a strong filmmaker. So, but anyway, wish me luck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's one, and I think that this film has a real sense of environment to it, and texture and place and time, and obviously has a real sense of empathy as well, even if I mean, it was shot during lockdown, it's about lockdown, so you don't have tons of characters interacting and crossing paths, but just in the brief scenes where they do, you get a real, I don't know, you get a real sense of every person is a real person. And I love that you mentioned It's a Wonderful Life, which is one of my favorite films, and that you're completely right about the catharsis at the end of the film is about community and about like a collective effort of everyone coming together to for the better. And I love that. I love that intention behind that kind of thing. So I'd be excited to see where you go with your next films. And also, I'm an independent filmmaker myself, and I was going to say that I also do the thing where I shoot a thing and then I edit it because I like to know what I've got and get the
Yeah.
tone of it by watching through it, and then I go and shoot more. I think there's something satisfying about that. But of course, yes, if you have a big budget, maybe they won't allow you to do that. But that would be a shame. I think more films should the process should be like that. But so I absolutely adored the cinematography in this movie. And literally from the opening shot, I thought to myself, this is my kind of movie. Like the flowing shots in the forest, like sort of soft focus, always moving shots are so wonderful. And you know, you sort of feel safe in the filmmaker's hands. Like an audience watching this, that opening, just walking through the forest is so immersive and so impactful. And I was wondering, just generally, could you talk about your collaboration with the cinematographer and some of the feelings that you wanted to evoke with the camera?
Um, it's not so much a collaboration. It's more like it's like a semi arguing husband and wife
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, he's like trying to be very sensible, and then I'm like, no, let's do this. So it's very much that kind of dynamic, but we need that. And he needs to be as logical as he is, and I need to be as experimental as I am for it to work. And
Interesting.
I think we did. I mean, out of all the reviews, the last thing that I would have ever expected was that people would compliment us on the production. Like,
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
no, I did expect a lot of criticism, and validly, because we had no budget. But it's been so positive about our production and about the cinematography that's quite overwhelming, actually.
Yeah.
That it that that it looks the way I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
And I think Kieran Cahoon is my DOP. He's got a Scottish name, but his dad's Scottish, but he's actually French.
All right.
And we argue because I like European cinema and he likes American cinema. So but I think he brings his own professionalism to it, and I will try and push it.
Yeah.
But together that kind of works. I like very tight angles in sort of an interior,
Yeah.
because for me it's like that it feels like you're condensing that space, and that's
Yeah.
how people live. They live on top of each other. But he's great at lighting that for me so that it can
Yeah.
be effective instead of making it sort of wider. I'm like, no, go closer. So he'll light it so well for me so that
Mhm.
I can get these close-ups. And he's like, there's definitely an Eve close-up, Eve, because I didn't really, but I do like tight. So
Yeah.
and he lights it so well, and he constructs it so well, and he gives me space to do what I want to do with it. And we do have
Mhm.
our little conflicts, but he always um encourages that in me to push it.
Yeah.
And go walk up, go up, a tower block and shoot for me out of a window, um,
Yeah.
and stand in the rain in a filthy tunnel. He's very dedicated to
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
and so am I. So,
Yeah.
this is a good,
You
a,
know,
a good dynamic in that
yeah,
sense.
I think, you've got to do that sort of thing. And I think I'm quite similar to you when you're talking about loving close-ups and stuff like that. And sometimes my collaborators, who are a lot better at lighting than I am, whereas I'm so interested in lenses and composition and stuff like that, have to be like, no, step back for a moment. We want to, do this. My friend Ryan is an incredible cinematographer and a lighting person, and he does these incredible, creates these incredible lighting setups that, yeah, with a wide shot you can see how wonderfully it's set up. But sometimes I just can't resist, like, oh no, I want to be really close in this. And you're talking about the you weren't expecting the cinematography to be so praised because it's low budget, but actually I think that the low budget nature of it really actually enhances the film quite a lot, because I have to say that it's very rare to see a very good COVID movie, but this is a very, very good COVID movie. And I feel like all the worst films about COVID are the ones coming out that have been made on massive budgets. And there's that air of superficiality to it where you're like, this doesn't feel like the genuine, lived experience. Whereas it does
Yeah.
with this film, very much so. And I do think it's a really great looking movie. Um, and I mean, color is another very significant tool you use to signify sort of the temporal transitions as well as like the characters' emotions. Did you did you grade the footage yourself, or did you have a colorist?
My cinematographer does it.
Oh, cool, cool. So what was
Yeah,
the process like creatively, like thinking about what different times would have different.
he actually taught himself to grade for my film.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and he's a brilliant. A brilliant colorist now. It's fantastic. So,
Yeah.
I don't really like soft, what do you call that? Soft tones.
Mhm.
I like primary colors.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't like anything pastel.
Yeah.
So I go primary colors, and I like to really, really up the um God, sorry. I can't remember.
No, I
I
know
can't
exactly what you
remember
mean.
today.
Like those scenes that are really
The
colorful.
contrast
Yeah,
up
absolutely.
contrast.
Yes, it's a really high contrast film. I
Yes.
can feel that. And
Yeah.
and you've got that desaturated, sort of almost grimy feeling during the scenes which are set during COVID, which really
Yeah.
effectively, I'd say, evoke just the feeling of just being, in lockdown, stuck in one place. And then during the memories, when it's become so, saturated with these colors, it is jarring, but in a really good way, to cut from one of those shots to one of the really colorful shots. And suddenly you're thinking more about visual ideas. Um,
Yeah, I think memory is rich though, and even if
Yeah.
those things were, maybe there was trauma, there's also childhood and
Mm.
such a rich time, and it's such, your memories from childhood are so intense. So I was trying to show that memories can be almost more intense than actually reality.
Yeah.
So there was a richness there that I really tried to get across, without it being too jarring from childhood. So I hope I've got the balance there right.
Yeah.
I think we did. It is quite bold. I've been told it's quite a bold grade.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But I think that, again, my cinematographer, he just kind of lets me and encourages me and, but keeps me within boundaries to where it still looks high quality. So I'm pushing, 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 and then he's
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, we need to get that contrast. We can't have the contrast too much."
Yeah.
It is dark, where maybe some cinematographers could have said, no, this is too dark. And he trusted me.
Yeah.
And, I trusted myself on it because it is a dark film. So it's best to kind of felt like maybe it's best to be honest
Mm.
about the themes in it. And
Yeah.
it does reflect that. So maybe just kind of lean into it as opposed to it making it seem more like a pastel sort of um, look,
Yeah,
which I
absolutely.
think works more really for maybe for comedy or romance.
Yeah.
But my next film I'll be going gung ho with the contrast and stuff. Hopefully you'll like it.
Oh, really? That's exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, the color is a real strength to it, and I like that you went by your instincts and you didn't do something conventional or, more like technically what would be expected of a normal color grade. And I think, I think we need to get away from what people would think conventionally. You'd have these technical things, and it's great that you're pursuing a technical element purely by creativity instead of thinking like, oh yeah, what necessarily would people think of this. You feel that it's right and that it's right for the moment, which is really cool. Um and I think that this again, I think this is just a great film about COVID and lockdown because again, we just get so it's so rare for there to be a good film about COVID. There are a few that I like a lot, and in fact my favorite film of this decade so far is Mike Leigh's Hard Truths, which I think evokes more of like a post-COVID social anxiety aspect of that, which you touch on a bit. And there are so many perspectives in this film, like from a financial perspective and social perspective, a parent's perspective, most importantly, of course. Um,
Mm.
what could you explain maybe a little bit more about why it was important for you personally to tell such an honest story about, the most, challenging time in life?
I suppose I just in my head I made it because as a carer, I just wanted to other carers to know that they're not on their own.
Yeah,
It is, you're not alone. I see you and I know what is happening here, even if, possibly governments or media won't represent that, I'm going to represent that. So,
yeah,
and I think as well, there are certain elements of the way that some people are living that it's just they're just not showing it.
yeah,
Show it, and they don't want to show it because they're not interested.
yeah,
And I'm sorry to say that, but it is the truth, and it's also many people's truths across the UK,
yeah,
not just mine.
yeah,
So, and that's supposed to be a duty as an artist. You're supposed to show these things. So, and if you're not, then it's not really art.
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So I think it is kind of like a duty, but it's also cathartic for me because I can represent what was happening to me in my life. It does say, I think a lot of people think that it is purely autobiographical, but it really isn't. It's,
Okay.
you know, um, writers are like, um, we pick bits. So, we're like little magpies.
Yeah.
So you'll take things that have happened to me. Some of it is personal, experience, things have happened to friends, or things that I read in the paper, or, things you see, or, things they watch on TV. And then you just kind of put it all together
Yeah. Yeah.
into a narrative. And I think there is a lot going on in this film.
Yeah.
And I hope that I have told the story well enough that it isn't cluttered. To me, it feels natural.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose that could you say there was quite a lot of different narratives, but for me, I'm like, I want to put everything in.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I
um,
think that works so well. I mean, there's not like a conventional like plot, but there is definitely like a narrative arc that feels really right, and I think it actually also helps that there's not so much a conventional this happens because this happens because this happens, because then you can allow the film to be told in flashbacks, be told through memory and back and forth, and the audience doesn't feel like, oh, hang on a minute, where were we going in that last thing? It feels natural because it feels like a point of time where everyone was recollecting. If you're sat in a room all day, everyone was, stuck in memories and what have you. And I also love your answer about telling the story because other people aren't going to tell the story. I think that's a great point, and you're right. Definitely a duty of an artist. So lastly, I'd like to just pivot to talk about performance a little bit. So, in addition to acting in the film, you also managed to get some great performances out of the rest of the cast. And clearly, you also have a real talent for directing children. Did you have experience directing young people before? And how did you find that process on this production?
yes, do you know, I've had a few children, I think, in a short that I made before. But children is just a personal choice for me. I just love them.
Yeah,
There's something about children that is so evocative, and a real. I mean, I don't. People say don't work with children and animals. I'll never understand that because
yeah.
you should never put children and animals in everything because they're so poignant,
Yeah,
and also they're so natural. Children are
yeah,
so natural. Ailey is just an absolute star. She's the star of the film.
yeah.
She's a complete professional. She turned up on time, every line, just doing exactly the same for every shot. She's just a natural. She's retired now. Sadly, her mum said that she's kind of given it up, which breaks my
Oh,
heart. But I'm so glad that she's in it there,
yeah, yeah, she's brilliant. Yeah,
and Anthony Bradley is brilliant as well. He's
yeah.
actually been in another series for Netflix, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I think children are able to sometimes carry a scene that an adult can't carry. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but and finally, how do you find the process of self-directing? And do you find it easier or more challenging to perform in your own film?
it's not something that I don't think I would ever do again.
Really? Okay.
Um, but it was simply the option just wasn't there to use an actor, which obviously we don't have any budget, but also didn't think it would be honest to use an actor. So I thought it would be more honest to show a carer with
Yeah,
a child with autism
yeah,
there was literally no other way to do it apart from that, if I wanted to be as honest as I wanted to be. So, but I certainly did my best.
Yeah, no, it's a great performance, and I think you made the right decision because yeah, it wouldn't have had that same sort of authenticity. Um, particularly as a parent, it works really, really well. But yes, Eve, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for this. I've loved chatting and I loved the film. So yeah, thank you.
No, no, thank you for being so understanding and great questions as well.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so glad you liked it.
I loved it. Yeah, absolutely. And I know like a lot of people, at UK Film Review have watched it and absolutely love it as well. And I should also say that Because We Are Too Many is available to watch now on Amazon Prime, and I presume for the foreseeable future, if people want to watch it. Yeah, wonderful. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. Thank you, UK Film Review, for your support as well. You're really awesome. And your reviews are banging. They're great. They're really honest and concise. And I have to say, yeah, great reviews. Obviously,
Thanks.
mine.
Thanks, Eve. Very kind. I'm
Bye.
sure everyone will really appreciate that. Thank you.